Okay, good afternoon. Shir today is Yom Kippur, the wedding day of God in Israel. Strange, Yom Kippur is the wedding day of God in Israel. The Shir is Le'ela Nishmat. Moshe ben Leah. Shumash ben Leah, today is the Yotzeit. And Le'ela Nishmat. Chana Golda. Bas Yisrael. Shumash ben Aliyah, Yotzeit. And Le'ela Nishmat Rivka Bas Yitzchak. Dimitri ben Alexander. Le'ela Nishmat Osher Shmuel Chaim ben Ephraim. Le'ela Nishmat Esther Bas Sarah. Le'ela Nishmat Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach. David ben Natan, Amichai ben Yaakov Devorah, Matil Leah bas Eliyahu, Leah bas Simcha, and Ela Nishmat Chana Golda bas Yisrael, Avraham ben Mordechai David, and Chaim ben Fega. Leila Nishmatam, right? And Leila Nishmat Bracha bas Gershom, Halevi. Shema should have an aliyah. So you're doing the mitzvah of kibbut aveim achamita. You're elevating the soul of your parents, David and Avraham. Okay. Yom Kippur is the wedding day of God and the Jewish people, right? How is that? Before we get there, yes? Didn't say anything yet. You already have a question.
Yeah, I had one last week, and you asked me to ask it today.
Yeah, can you write it down?
Why is Rosh Hashanah before Yom Kippur?
The Ramban asked your kasha, Sonia. The Ramban, make my day. Wouldn't it be more logical to have what? Yom Kippur, right, Shirley? Yom Kippur, you get nice and acquitted. A good acquittal, get it? A good acquittal. And then you can stand for the judgment day. Why not, Rivka? Why not? Get nice and clean, Yom Kippur atones, and then I'm ready to be judged 9 days later. Why does God do it the opposite? So, first, let me get acquitted, and then I'll get a good verdict. So the Ramban answers the question that Yom Kippurim is a day of Rachamim, and Rosh Hashanah is the Yom Hadin. So, there's no free lunches in Judaism, is there? Why do we deserve a Yom HaRachamim? Why do we deserve a day of acquittal and atonement? Since we went through the pachad, Rabbi Yosef, the pachad of Emes Hadin, who wasn't shaking, the fear and the trembling of the Yom Hadin bought us a ticket 9 days later to Yom HaRachamim. That's why the Yom Hadin comes first. You have to go through the pachad of Emes Hadin, that very pachad and fear and awe, that earns you a Yom Kippur 9 days later, and therefore it had to be this way. Okay. Erev Yom Kippur is around the corner, yes?
It's also said that Shavuot is the wedding day.
So let's stay tuned. Chava, ESP. Before I get there, we're going to talk, it's exactly what I'm talking about. I thought Shavuot is the wedding day. It's Erev Yom Kippur, right? Before you know it, right? This guy walks into Temple Emmanuel on Erev Yom Kippur, and he says he wants to buy 2 seats for Kol Nidre night. One for him and one for his dog. He loves his dog, and he has no dog sitter. So the Gabbai says, "You crazy? Get out of here. We don't sell no seats to dogs." So an hour later he comes back, and he says, "Listen, I want a seat for Kol Nidre, but I can't leave my dog home. I'd have to buy 2 seats. What are you, against dogs?" He says, "Listen, we don't sell, even though it's a reform shul, we don't sell seats to dogs. Get out of here." Comes back again, 2 hours before Kol Nidre. And he says, "Listen, I have to buy a seat for me and my dog, and here's a check for $10,000. So the Gabbai says, "Why didn't you tell me the dog was Jewish?" Should have told me the dog was Jewish. Don't you get it? Why didn't you say so? Okay.
Was it an Orthodox one?
No, it was a Temple Emmanuel.
You sure?
One more? No? It's 2 Jews are walking down Fifth Avenue. One's name was Yankel, one's name was Shmerel. Okay, they're walking down, they see a huge sign in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Any Jew that converts today, he he gets $10,000 mezuman. So, a sale, a conversion sale. You convert today, you get $10,000 in cash. So Yankel says to Shmerel, listen, I have a lot of financial problems. And things are not going my way. Listen, I need the money. I'll just go in. I'll make believe that hocus pocus there, and I'll walk out with $10,000. He says, Shmerel says, Yankel, you crazy? You're going to convert to... No, it's not going to convert. You know my financial situation is in dire straits. Yiddish Rabbi Abraham, right? And listen, I'm going to play the game with the... Right? And I'll get the 10,000, but I won't mean it. So he tries to talk him out of it, nothing doing. He needs the money. He made bad investments. So he goes in, and Shmerel is waiting on the steps there. 1 hour goes by, 2 hours. 5 hours go by. And Shmerel's afraid maybe they killed him. You know, who knows? He walked in there with all the getchkes. Maybe he got a heart attack in there. After 5 hours, Yankel walks out. And Shmerel says, Yankel, did you get the money? He says, you Jews are all alike. All you think about is money. Okay, where was I? Kol Nidre. No, okay, that's not. Jackie Mason, where are you? Kol Nidre. Why is Kol Nidre so important? We start off the holiest day of the year to be what? To try to annul our vows. There are many sins worse than what? Than breaking your word. It's a terrible sin to break your word. But it's worse to eat pig or wear shatnez. So why don't you... Yes, it's worse. For breaking a vow, you don't get malchus. For eating pig or shatnez, wearing shatnez, you get malchus. So why don't you start out Yom Kippur night, all the pig that I ate, and all the shrimp that I ate, Why do you focus on the sin of breaking a vow? There are many sins that are worse. You know what the answer is? Yes?
Because after all, you made a vow of the Sprecher on our Sinai. And that's I remember, I think you said this.
Beautiful. Rav Soloveitchik says what you're saying, doctor. Any sin you do, you break your vow. We vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. Didn't we? At Har Sinai, we vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. We promised and we swore to observe the Torah. So Rav Soloveitchik explains, any time you do any sin, you're automatically what? Breaking your vow. It's a twofer. So the Rav said, therefore, Kol Nidre, the holiest night of the year, we do tshuva, because any avera you do, if you eat pig, you broke your vow. Because when you vowed Na'aseh v'nishma, that includes what? Don't eat pig, etc., etc. So therefore, the Rav Soloveitchik says that's why we zero in on what? On Kol Nidre, because any sin that you do also involves breaking the vow. We all vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. Isn't that amazing? We all vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. So what? So let's take a look now at Chava's great question. Chava's great question. Why is Yom Kippur the wedding day? Rabbi Yaakov, you mind giving one and passing it around, if you can split it up? Where do we know that Yom Kippur is what? Is God's wedding day? I thought God gave us the Torah when? On Shavuot. So that should be the wedding day, right? So to answer Chava's question, we're going to what? Ask some more. You'll see, according to this Mishnah and Tainis, that Yom Kippur was a strange day, Rabbi Yosef. Yom Kippur was actually the day where the Jewish people played the dating game. I'm dating myself, but there used to be a TV show called The Dating Game. This Mishnah says that when did the Jewish people play the dating game? Yom Kippur. Tubav, you're right, but I want to focus on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, of all days, Mikimia, that's the day to play the dating game? What's it all about? So let's take a look at the Mishnah. See that, Rabbi Yosef, Mishnah Chet? This is the last Mishnah in Tractate Ta'anit. You have it? The last Mishnah in Tractate Ta'anit. Thank you, Rabbi Yaakov. Omer Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. Lahoy Yom Tovim Yisrael. There was no happier, joyous day among the Yidden. Kechamisha Saba'av U. Rabbi Aaron. U. Yom Kippurim, the happiest day on the Jewish calendar was not Simchas Torah, it was what? Yom Kippur. Shebahen Benot Yisrael, on Yom Kippur. Benot Yushalayim, thank you. Yotzaz B'klei Lavan She'ulin. The daughters of Jerusalem who needed a shidduch would borrow white dresses. Sheloi levayesh es mi she'ein lo, not to embarrass the girl that ain't got. Kol ha'kelim tonim tvila, all of the clothing had to be toivel because certain girls are not nizar in the laws of nida. Today it doesn't matter, but in the days of the temple, you had to be very careful about the laws of nida. Otherwise, you couldn't go to the Beis Hamikdash. So all of the clothing was toivel, not to embarrass those girls that didn't toivel their clothing. Ubenois Yushalayim yotzot. This is all Yom Kippur. What? They would borrow dresses not to embarrass those they don't have. Right? Benois Yushalayim yotzot, and the girls of Jerusalem would go out. V'cholot bakramim. What does cholot mean? Dance to the music. Rabbi Yosef, they must have had spirulina the day before. They had koyach to dance on Yom Kippur. V'cholot bakramim. They would dance in the vineyards. And who also went down there? The guys. Can you believe that, Rivka? Don't try this today. Haredim won't like it. And the guys would go down. They looked like they happened a fast Ne'ilah. They made a fast Musav, Gershom. They made a fast Ne'ilah. And the boys would go down there. Umaha ya'omrot. And what would the girls say as they were dancing? Bochor. What does Bochor mean? Young man. So no einecha urei. What does that mean, Gershom? Or put your eyeballs back in the socket? No. What did they say? So no einecha urei. Take a good look. Ma tabaralach. What are you choosing? Al titein einecha banoi. Don't what? Give your eye for beauty. Beauty's only skin deep. Yeah. Ten einecha b'mishpacha. Check out my yichus. I come from good yichus. And then they would say in Mishlei 31, Sheker achein, Tehevel ayofi, Isha yirat Hashem, Hitis halal. That beauty is what? Skin deep. Worse than that. Beauty is what? Sheker v'hevel. It's meaningless. It's vanity. Isha yirat Hashem, a God-fearing woman, Hitit halal, she is praised. So the Vilna Gaon says, I don't understand this pasuk in Mishlei. We sing it every Friday night. If King Solomon says that physical beauty is what? Sheker and Hevel, how come the Torah goes out of her way to describe that all of the mothers of Israel were Miss Israel? Or Miss Universe? Right? The Torah spends so many verses saying that all of the matriarchs of Israel were Yefat Toah, Yefat Mareh Ma'od. Why should the Torah bother when Yofi is Sheker and Hevel? So why spend so many verses describing the physical beauty of the mothers of Israel? Each one was a knockout. Why?
Because they were spiritually beautiful.
No. Says Vilna Gaon, you have to know where to put the commas. Let's eat Grandpa. Let's eat Grandpa. I had a grandfather who lived with us, so I knocked on his door with my knife and fork, dinner, and I said, let's eat Grandpa. And he jumped out the window. Good thing we lived on the ground floor. Right? Throw Grandpa from the train. So I tried again. I knocked on the door, my knife and fork, and I said, let's eat Grandpa. He says, now you're talking, Sonny. What's for dinner? So the Vilna Gaon says you have to know where to put the commas. Look at the verse. You have that, Rabbi Yosef? Sheker achein v'hevel ayofi. If all a woman has is physical beauty, of course it's sheker and hevel, because physical beauty wears out. But isha yirat Hashem, if a physical beautiful woman, if she's physically beautiful and she's also God-fearing, hitis halal, then she's praised for what, Rabbi Yosef? For a physical beauty. Since the mothers of Israel are what? God-fearing. So therefore the Torah praises them for what? Miss Universe or Miss Israel. Okay, so that's what the girls would sing and dance. Can you imagine that? No shotguns. In the days of the Beis Hamikdash, Yom Kippur was what? Dance and dating game. dance and dating game of all. You didn't need no shatchanim, right? Of all the days in Moimet, Tnila, Priyodeha, Vehalu Bashur Masel, they would sing these songs from what? Shir Hashirim. V'chein Oimet Tse'ena Urena Benois Tzion Ba'melech Shlomo. Ba'atara. She'it Velo Imo. Go out, daughters of Tzion, and look at the Melech Shlomo, Ba'atara in his crown. She'it Velo Imo, that his mother what? Gave him. B'yoim Chasinoto, in the day of his wedding. Chava, whose wedding? Who is Shlomo? Who is Shlomo? So Rashi says, and according based on this, wherever it says the word Shlomo and Shir Hashirim, it's talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The word Shlomo is an acronym. Shalom Shalom. All peace unto him. So the Mishnah here is saying that whenever it says the word Shlomo and Shir Hashirim, it's talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'yoim Chasinoso, the day of his wedding. Who's his, Rabbi Yaakov? Hashem. So, Yom Chasinoto, Yom Chasinoto, right? Zu Matan Torah. That's the day. When did God marry the Jewish people? When he gave us the Torah. What day was that, Chava? Please look on the left side. You see it says, I have an X there. You see it says, Zeh Matan Torah?
Zeh Matan Torah, Yom HaKippurim,
Bo. Nitnu, Luchot Achronot. It's not like I would think that Matan Torah is what? Shavuos. No, that was a bust. David, it didn't work out. Right? The Ketubah was plan A, didn't work out. B'yoim Chasinosai Matan Torah, says Rabbeinu Ovadia Bar Tanura, is Yom HaKippurim. When God gave us the second tablets, we forget that Yom Kippur was a day of Matan Torah. The first Matan Torah literally was a bust. Get it? A bust. God broken. God gave us a new Ketubah. What's the new Ketubah, Rabbi Yaakov? The new Ketubah was the second Luchot. So God remarried the Jewish people when? On Yom Kippur. By giving us the second Luchot is the second Ketubah. So therefore we also make Shidduchim when? Follow the leader. God chose his bride. Us on Yom Kippur. So in ancient Israel, they also chose their brides. What? Because this week's parsha says, "V'halachta b'drachav." We have to what? Go to his ways. So when Mashiach comes, Gershom, bring back the good old days. When Mashiach comes, Shirley, the shotguns will be out of business, and we're going to go back to this system again. Can you believe that? That on Yom Kippur will be, I don't know, Sadie Hawkins Day or whatever. But this is pretty amazing. B'yom Chasinosa zu Matan Torah. U'b'yom Simchat Libo ze binyan Beis HaMikdash. Now,
Were they fasting on these days?
of course, Yom Kippur, you wouldn't fast. I told you, it took spirulina, Erev Yom Kippur. So it gave them koyach to what? Dance. Right? Right?
When Shlomo dedicated the
No, that you're right. Moed Katan, page 9 says that the year that Shlomo HaMelech dedicated the Beis HaMikdash, he ordered the Yidden to what? To eat on that Yom Kippur. To eat on that Yom Kippur. Eat. Manja, not to spoil the what? Now don't try this at home. You have to be a bona fide Navi like Shlomo, like Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi told the Yidden to sacrifice a korban to Hashem in Har HaKarmel. That's 94 miles from the Beis HaMikdash. Sacrificing a korban even to God, the real God, David. Outside the Mikdash is Chayev Karet. Someone who offers a korban to Hashem outside the Mikdash, he's like eating on Yom Kippur. So how could Eliyahu Navi tell the Yidden to offer a korban to Hashem on Har HaKarmel? The answer is Hara'at Sha'ah. A bona fide Navi can say we're doing this temporarily. So Shlomo Melech said, this Yom Kippur, I'm telling you with Torah's Navi, instead of what? Instead of fasting, we're feasting. If he says from now on we're feasting, that's a Navi Sheker. But he says, Harat Sha'ah, temporary emergency rule, not to joy the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. Shlomo ordered that year all the Yidden to what? To feast, and they had to listen to him because a Navi Harat Sha'ah. So, where were we? So, but regularly Yom Kippur, of course, they fasted. And yet, besides it wasn't building the Beis HaMikdash, the next year, of course, they went back to what? Fasting. And yet, this is how the Jewish people made what? Shidduchim. If you look at the left side, the Bar Tanura, the Yom Kippurim, why did the Jewish people make Yom Kippur Sadie Hawkins Day? See the left side, Yom Kippurim? Rabbeinu Bar Tanura, Yom Kippurim on the left side, I think there's a line there. Shabo nitnu luchat achronot. That was the day when God gave us what? The second luchot. The Yom Mechila Uslicha. And that was a day of what? Of forgiveness, right? When God remarried us, so we play what? Follow the leader. Okay? Now, you've skipped down a couple. Yotzot v'cholot. The girls will go out. Mazeh v'cholot. You see the left side? I have it underlined. Mazeh cholot. Kamo oz tismach betula b'mchol. Then the virgin would rejoice in her dance. Apostle Yirmiyahu. The word mechol in Hebrew means what? Dance, and also means what? Pardon. Mechila. Bavakasha. Mechila. Eifa v'chol v'yafa. Mechol in Hebrew means what? Dance, but it also means what? To forgive. So Yom Kippur, it's a play on words, Chava. It was a day of Mechila. What does Mechila mean? Forgiveness, and also the day of the dance. Incredible. Yom Kippur is Yom Mechila, the day of the dance, and also, of course, the day of what? Of forgiveness. Look at the next Rashi, Chava. Melech Shlomo. Who is the Melech Shlomo? See the next Bar Tanur on the left side, there's a line there.
Oh, okay. Nishlomo?
Melech Shlomo HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Shalom. Reading the left side in the Bar Tanura, the footnote there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Shalom, right? And Zeh Matan Torah, see the X there, Zeh Matan Torah, which is the day when God gave us the Torah and He married us. Yom Kippurim, He gave us what? The second tablets. So Yom Kippur is the wedding day of what? Of God and the Jewish people. The wedding day of God and the Jewish people. Isn't that amazing? Now, we know in Jewish tradition that the Chos and Kala fast on their wedding day. Sonia, why do we fast on Yom Kippur? Because it's the day we get married. What do you do when you get married? You fast. Ooh. So that's one of the reasons why we fast, because Chos and Kala on their wedding day fast. So Yom Kippur, which is the wedding day of God and the Jewish people, we also what? Fast. That's pretty amazing, right?
Rabbi Sprecher,
Yes? No, but the Ashkenazim do. I don't know. I know the Ashkenazim do fast. The Ramah and Shulchan Aruch brings down that the Chos and Kala should fast on their wedding day. So Pi Kabbalah, that's why we fast when on Yom Kippur, because that's our wedding day. The Kotzker Rebbe said something amazing. The two most difficult fasts in the Jewish year is Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. It's amazing. Yom Kippur is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. No, Tisha B'Av is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. And Yom Kippur is what? Why do we celebrate the saddest day and the happiest day, Rabbi Yaakov, identical? The same exact things that are forbidden on the saddest day are forbidden what? On the happiest day. Isn't that amazing? To celebrate the saddest day of the year, Tisha B'Av, exactly the same way as what? As the happiest day. Why is that? Why is that? Well, the same reason why when a person is very happy, he cries tears. A person is very sad, he also cries tears. All right? But the same tears. When a person cries for sadness and for happiness, you put the tear under the microscope. Can you see a difference? So you know why? Couldn't God come up with a different system? Why do we have to express joy and sadness identically? Gershon, to prove that what? It's all one. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Elokeinu is what? Elokeinu is what? Tisha B'Av, Din. Elokeinu is Din, Tisha B'Av. Hashem is what? Yom Kippur. A loving Father. Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem is Yom Kippur. Elokeinu is Tisha B'Av. Hashem Echad. It's all what, Moshe? All one. We can't see it, so we cover our eyes when we say Shema. We believe it that it's all one, but I can't see it, so I cover up my eyes. So therefore, to demonstrate that whether it's Elokeinu or whether it's Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's all one, we celebrate Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av what? The exact same way, and therefore, to express joy and to express sadness, we do it identically, Rabbi Yaakov, the same tears, that it's all one, it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We believe that, but can I see it? No, so I cover my eyes. Hashem Echad, I cover my eyes. I believe it, but I can't see it. But Zechariah tells me, B'yoyim hahu yiyeh Hashem Echad u'shmo Echad. Right, Gershon? B'yoyim hahu. Looking back from Olam Haba, from the perspective of eternity, I'll see that Hashem Echad u'shmo Echad. You remember Psachim 50, now he's not one? I can't see the oneness now, I believe it. But B'yoyim hahu, looking from the perspective of eternity, yiyeh Hashem Echad u'shmo Echad, then I won't have to cover my eyes anymore. I'll see that whatever God does is Hakol L'Tovah. Ten Chiyuch, Hakol L'Tovah. Right? Hakol, even though we can't what? See it. Right? But anyway, this Mishnah, Aaron, explains why we do something very strange, Gershon. On Yom Kippur Mincha, what do we read? The holiest day of the year, you would think you would read something about what? A grooving with God. You read the parsha of sexual immorality. On Yom Kippur, after the holiest day of the year, why do you read the parsha of sexual immorality? Who's thinking about sex? I mean, who wants to even have, you don't smell too good, or you don't feel so good, and what? You're too tired. So why do you read the parsha of Arayot? Because since Yom Kippur was a day when you chose your bride, you had to know who's mutter and who's asur. Who you can marry, who you can't. A cousin you can, a sister you can't. A niece you can, an aunt you can't. What's the difference? You're allowed to marry your niece. Did you know that? Good thing you came today. You're allowed to marry your niece and your cousin, but to marry an aunt is Gilead Arayot. How do I know that? So I have to read the Parsha of Arayot, Dafka on Yom Kippur. So I'll know who I can choose as a bride and who I can't. Niece, yes. Aunt, no. Wow. So that explains the strange reading of what? Of Yom Kippur, the Parsha of Arayot. The Kotzker Rebbe said that Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av really are no fast days. He says, Yom Kippur, you're so engulfed in the Kedusha of the day. You're so connected to Hashem. Who wants to eat? You're grooving with God. It's the day of the soul. I'm a soul man. What? Who wants to eat? You have such joy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On Tisha B'Av, you're so depressed. Who can eat? Who has an appetite to eat? You hear? On Yom Kippur, who wants to eat? The joy surrounds you. And Tisha B'Av, you're so sad that who can eat? There is no appetite. So therefore, that's the Kotzker Rebbe's sharp vort on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Now, the Talmud Yishalmi Bikurim tells us that Chosen Kala Mikimya, Yishalmi Bikurim, that's for Sfardim also, that Chosen Kala fast on their wedding day because all of their sins are forgiven. The Talmud Yishalmi Sfardim too. So Yishalmi says clearly that Chosen and Kala are obligated to fast on the wedding day. Why is that? Because all their sins are what? Forgiven. That's why we fast when, Gershom? Yom Kippur is the day of our forgiveness. Right? Because Yom Kippur is the marriage ceremony between God and the Jewish people. It begins with Kol Nidre, as we said, in which we remove the vows and all the guilt that weighs us down and most of the sins of the Al-Chet. If you check the list, Moshe, most of the Al-Chets have to do with what? With speaking. All right? So therefore, we remove the vows and all the guilt and shame. And during the moments of Kol Nidre, we attempt to free ourselves from all the negative, compulsive behavior, to let go of the resentment, the animosity, the anger, the fear, the envy. And how does the Jewish wedding ceremony end? The Yichud room, right? The Yichud room, yes? The Jewish ceremony ends with the Yichud room. Spend time. Beautiful. Who said that? Beautiful, Nechama. The Zohar says the Ne'ilah, The holiest day of Yom Kippur is the Ne'ilah. What does Ne'ilah mean? Let's lock the door and throw away the key. Ne'ilah means to lock the door. Ni'im na'ul. So the holiest moment, like Nechama said, of Yom Kippur is the Ne'ilah, when the Chatan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyach, and the Kalawat are locked together, and that's the holiest moment of what? Of the Yom Kippur. The yichud between God and what? And the Jewish people. Isn't that amazing? Now, Yom Kippur, it says, V'initem et nafshotechem. You shall afflict your souls. Right? That's how ArtScroll translates that. Rasavetchik had a kash on that. Is the soul being afflicted on Yom Kippur, Gershom? What? The soul couldn't care less about macaroni and cheese and taking a shower and spritzing yourself. It should have said, V'initem et aguf shelachem. It should, your body is being afflicted. Why does the Pasuk say, V'initem et nafshotechem, when the guf is being afflicted, not the body? So Rav Soloveitchik says something amazing. He says the word V'initem in Hebrew, besides meaning affliction, also means to sing. Ay, 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 ay. I'm not going to give up my day job. There's a pasuk in Parshas Kitovo. When the Jewish farmer, Moshe, brings his bikurim, it says V'yonita. Barbanel translates, the farmer should sing praises to Hashem. When he brings the bikurim, that he doesn't live in Borough Park, he lives in Pisgat Zev. So Rasavetchik says the word V'yonita in Parshas Kitovo, which Barbanel translates to sing, is the same root as what, Gershom? V'initem et nafshotechem. Literally, it means on Yom Kippur, your soul should sing.
So is this
The soul is not afflicted. The soul sings. One day a year, Moshe, where she gets to what? Shine. All year long, who thinks about the soul? Right? The soul is always in the back seat. Manja, manja. The guf. One day a year, God says, V'initem et nafshotechem. You shall allow your neshama to sing. V'ornito, the same root. The neshama is singing one day a year that she's getting a chance to what? To clean herself. Yes?
So is Vanita, is this from the root la'anot, to answer, or something?
La'anot means to answer, but the Abarbanel says that in V'ornito means to answer in song. So Soloveitchik says, V'yonita, V'yinitem, Gershom is the same root. So just like the farmer has to sing praises to Hashem when he brings Bikurim, Yom Kippur, the neshama is allowed to sing, to express herself. How? When the body is afflicted, the soul sings. So you ask a good tekash in Hebrew, Inui means to afflict. And Inu also means, Rabbi Yaakov, what? Ay, 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 ay. Dam, dam, donera. So in Hebrew, when you have one word with two opposite meanings, how could they be? The inui means to afflict. And the inui, v'initem, also means to sing. So how could the same word have what? Says the Ramchal. Listen to this.
You have the same thing with the word
Ramchal, we'll talk about that, yes. When the guf is afflicted, then the neshama sings. Because the affliction of the guf, that's the Clorox bleach that is cleansing this godly soul. So through the inui of the guf, through the affliction of the guf on Yom Kippur, the neshama gets a sense of what? Because she's being cleansed. You're not allowed to hurt yourself, chas v'sholom. But the Torah commands one day a year. Affliction means only 5 things. Doesn't mean go rolling in the snow or cut yourself. No, that's Shiitism. It only means 5 things. No eating and drinking. No what? No bathing. No smearing. No leather shoes. And no marital relations, right? That's it. When you do that, you are cleansing your neshama, David. So the neshama, when the body is doing the inui, the neshama gets a chance to inui, to sing. Therefore, in Hebrew, it's the same root for affliction as the same root of what? For singing. So says what? The Ramchal. It's amazing that what? Go ahead.
It's no coincidence either that it occurs by Parshas Bikurim.
Bikurim, go ahead.
Because Parshas Bikurim is where we recognize that everything
That's right. Even the farmer worked hard. He worked hard, and yet he gives all credit to what? To HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right. It's all God. It's all God. And it's amazing the awesome power of tshuva. The Talmud says in Tractate Yuma Brachot, "B'mokom shebala tshuva omed, atzadik goma lo yochal lamod." That a Baal tshuva stands much higher than what? David, tzadik gomer. How do you know that? The second tablets were given when? To prove that God always gives a Jew a second chance to do better. Now, the second tablets were given after the sin, right? How does the Talmud know that a person that sins and does tshuva, he's better than what? A goody two-shoes. Every statement in the Talmud has to have a source where? In the Torah. So Soloveitchik asks, how does the Talmud Yuma 86 know that a person that sins and he does tshuva stands higher than a tzaddik gomer? Fastening seatbelts for this is Rav Soloveitchik. The first luchot, that's a tzaddik gomer, right? The second luchot, that's about tshuva. The words Laman Yitav Lach. The words Laman Yitav Lach, Gershom, are they found in the first 10 commandments? The words Laman Yitav Lach, it should be good for you, is found only in the second luchot. Why is that? Because the best part of breaking up is making up. It's amazing. They got everything from us. About tshuva, the Zohar Kodesh says when we sin, it's like we're having a lover's quarrel with Hashem. The Zohar said. And when we do tshuva, what? We kiss and make up. We become closer after the quarrel. Wow. Some people, what? So the second chance is tov. The second luchot, which symbolizes that we get a second chance if we want it. Only there, Rivka, does it say, Laman Yitav Lach. Wow, we become better because we learn from our mistakes if we want to. The Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, Chava, became a golden opportunity to do tshuva. Plan B. The golden calf became a golden opportunity for the Jewish people to what? To do tshuva. It's a yerida l'tzorach aliyah. Sometimes you have to go down in order to what? Go up.
Tzaddik falls 7 times.
Sheva yipol tzaddik becomes a pasuk in Mishlei. Sheva yipol tzaddik. The tzaddik falls 7 times. So why is he called a tzaddik? Become. Because he what? He gets up. And the Baal Shem Tov says something amazing. Should I repeat it? The Baal Shem Tov says, but don't give the secret out. He says, Sheval Yipol Tzaddik become only when a person falls 7 times and he gets up, only then is he a tzaddik. Don't let this publicize that. Sheval Yipol Tzaddik, a pasuk in Mishlei, says the Baal Shem Tov, only when a person falls 7 times and he doesn't give up hope, he's not miyayish, become, and he keeps what? Getting up, he doesn't become depressed, only then is he rightfully, Moshe called what?
Tzaddik.
A tzaddik. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Because through tshuva, we can recycle our averot. Through tshuva, we recycle our averot into mitzvot. Therefore, the Sam Sofer is something amazing. Why do we sing? We sing, right? What do we sing? We sing, oh Shamnu, I'm guilty, Bagadnu, I'm a traitor, I'm a low-life bum, Debarnu Doifi, I speak Lashon Hara. Right? Why are you singing for? You should be burying your head in the sand, right? Right? And the Svardim, when they sing their vidui, Chatanu, I'm a no good sinning bum. What are you singing about? Thank you. I won't give up my day job. I am a sinner and a low life. Why are you singing? Said Rassam Sofer, because what? Through tshuva, those sins become mitzvot. Isn't that something to sing about? Yuma, page 86, Chava. Gedoyle tshuva me'ahava. If someone does tshuva because he loves God, zedonot, all of his averot become what? Mitzvot. Isn't that something to sing about? Who loves you, baby? Some Sefer. That's why we sing. We're doing tshuva me'ahava. So all of our averot are what? Mitzvot. That's something Moshe to sing about. What? Sing, right? No, we sing that, no? Now,
Rav, are all the bearers, are they all redeemable? Are they all, can you get tshuva and all, anything?
well, Bein Odom Lechad, Mishnah says in Masechta Yuma, sins Bein Odom Lamokaim, Yom Kippur's Mechaper. Right, Gershom?
For all of them, anything?
Bein Odom Lamokaim, anything. Yes?
Anything.
Right. A person committed adultery, and he gave birth to a mamzer. The mamzer is alive. How could tshuva help? So the Rambam says about tshuva, ani ish acher, v'lo oto ish she'osat ha'ma'is hazeh. I'm not the guy that produced that mamzer. No. I reinvented myself, says Rambam. Through the koyach ha'tshuva, I went back to the future, or back to the past. I recreated myself. Rabbi Yaakov, rejuvenate. The Rambam says, Ani ish acher. I'm not the guy that made that mamzer, even though I am, but I'm not. God allows me, the koach hatshuva Moshe, to go back into the past and recreate myself. I'm not the same guy that had sex with a married woman. I look the same, but I'm not the same. I reinvented myself. That's Ben Odom Lamokaim. Ben Odom Lechavero, says the Mishnah, Ein Yom Kippur Mechaper, Ad Shetaratz et Chavero. You got to appease the guy that you upset or you swindled. You got to pay him back or apologize. Otherwise, Yom Kippur ain't going to help, yes?
If a person produces a monster,
Right.
you created a person whose life can be miserable.
Okay.
How can you possibly do teshuva?
So surely, the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva says, I'm not that person.
What?
I'm not, I look like that person.
No,
But yeah, I recreated myself. Don't argue with the Rambam. A tshuva gemura, I'm a new creature now. Mickey, I look the same. And the Rambam said, therefore, Baal Tshuva changes his name. Baal Tshuva changes his name, Nechama, signifying I'm not that same guy. I look like him. I might have the same Tudat Zehut, but I'm really not the same person. Ooh, it came from outer space. Remember? Well, yes? That's right. But you know the chief rabbi of Israel can be a mamzer. You know that? The chief rabbi of Israel can be a mamzer. You don't know that? No. The Mishnah says in the Sechta Hurios, you're on the Titanic. You remember? And there were seats on the lifeboat. And who's on board? There's one seat left on the lifeboat. This is Mishnah Masechta Hurios, the last one. There's one seat left on the lifeboat in the Titanic. And it's between a mamzer Talmud Chacham and a Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol Amoretz. Who gets the last seat on the lifeboat? The mamzer Talmud Chacham. Surely he gets the Koisel Maravi. The only thing he can't do is marry a born Jewish girl. That's all. He could marry a Geiris. He could be the chief rabbi of Israel. He gets the life jacket before the Kohen Gadol Amoretz, the high priest, if he's a Talmud Chacham. The only thing he can't do is marry a born Jewish girl. He can marry a Geiris. He can marry another mamzer. That's the only thing that he can't do. People make a big mistake. What? In the Jewish press, looking for mamzer, looking for mamzeret. Moms are looking for Geiris. He could put an ad in the Jewish press.
Rabbi,
What?
how many moms there will be studying and becoming
But why? There could be.
The day they're born.
No, you see, that's a mistake. The only thing that he can't do is marry a born Jewish girl. Otherwise, you're not allowed to discriminate against him. He comes before a Kohen Gadol Amoretz, the big kahuna, Gershom. The big kahuna goes into Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. Nobody else can. If a mamzer Talmud Chacham, he gets kadima. So you see, that's a big mistake. People think that he's an outcast. It's not so. The only restriction he has is he can't marry a born Jewish girl. That's all.
He's an outcast.
You can't daven in a minyan.
What are you talking about? He gets shlishi. Mamzer Talmud Chacham gets before Kohen Gadol Amoretz. He gets kadima in case he's held captive. In case he needs a rescue, he gets kadima.
Can he marry a Gioret?
Yes, he can, or a fellow mamzeret.
They thought that David Melech was.
That's right. That's what they thought. That's right. Yes.
So, not just one example, but a lot of these people do in their life, let's say Madoff. You've heard a lot of people.
I said, the Mishnah says that ben Adam lechaveroi Yom Kippur ain't going to help you. If you swindle people, swindle, then Yom Kippur ain't going to help you. The Mishnah says that. Tshuva only helps ben Adam lamokoim. Ben Adam lechaveroi, it doesn't help until you pay back the financial damage or the emotional damage that you did to the other guy. Otherwise, tshuva doesn't help. You're right.
Well, but you did emotional damage to the Ramser. You didn't usually, if you hurt people in your life, you did emotionally hurt them. So you said, I'm sorry. I'm not
You gave him life. What do you mean? You created him. Why did you hurt him?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to Lashon Hara anymore. I know you got fired from your job.
Look, slicha, but you're not ben lashon hara, ben odom lechavero. If you slander ben odom lechavero, if you cause someone financial hurt or emotional pain, Yom Kippur, you're right, doesn't help. Yom Kippur doesn't help unless you what? Unless you apologize and make restitution. The Mishnah says clearly, tshuva will not help ben odom lechavero.
You don't think Mamzer is in that category?
No, ben odom lechavero. Why? You gave him life. Otherwise, without you, he wouldn't be here. At least he's alive. He has a life. Get a life. Huh? Get a life, right? So, but ben odom lechavero, you're 100% right. The Mishnah says tshuva does not help. At she'taratzeh chavet chavero. Taratzeh could mean what? Financial compensation. Well, that's not enough. You also have to apologize for swindling him, for hurting his feelings. Otherwise, Yom Kippur ain't going to help at all.
As far as the mom's concerned,
Yeah.
we talk about if everything comes from God.
Right.
So obviously, this is the tikkun for the mamzer to be.
Of course, it's a tikkun. He has to go through this trauma, whatever.
That's right, and he has to go through it. In order
That's right. No. Yes. That's a good question. Does he have to ask Mamzer for Mechila? Someone produces a Mamzer. Does he have to ask the Mamzer for Mechila? I don't know. He's his own child. I don't know. I don't know about that. But, what?
So then that gets very confusing because it's
Right.
like the father or the mother is asking the child if he can kill him.
Right. No, I don't think you have to do that.
Now,
But
how could
what?
Kohen Gadol be an ignoramus?
So you look in Tractate Yuma, the end of the Second Temple period, the Roman government controlled the high priesthood. And they sold it to the highest bidder. And there were many Kahanim who were ignorant, and they wanted to covet, and they paid for it. They became high priests even though they were ignorant. Right? It became corrupt. The Roman government, right? The covet. They knew they're going to get killed, right? A die in there, but look at the covet. Covet destroys a person. A person will give his life for glory and honor, right? So you had ignoramus is Kohen Gehadim, which sounds like what? What's it called? Who are you calling a moron? It sounds like an oxymoron, but in the end of the Second Temple period, that's why it all fell apart. That's why the Romans destroyed the temple. Became so corrupt, the priesthood, that it was sold by the Roman government to the highest bidder, and you had Amaratzim running the temple. And there, Mamzer Talmud Chacham, of course, would get much more kavod and more kadima than what, Sonia, than a Kohen Gadol Amoretz.
Those are the days of Yashki.
That's right, the days of J.C. Penney, right? Now, the Mishnah, the Gemara in Yuma says that Gedola Tshuva Mahava Shes Donot Nasalo K'Zchuyot. Tshuva, because you love God, turns all of your averot into what? Mitzvot. You know who said that? Rav Shimon ben Lakish. The great Amora, Rav Shimon ben Lakish, made that statement. The Talmud in Bava Metzia says that he used to be like Meir Lansky. Remember Meir Lansky?
Worse.
Say worse. He was Meir Lansky. Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel was good to his mother, though. Bugsy Siegel was a Levi, Sagan Levi. Meir Lansky gave a lot of money for tzedakah, right? So Rav Shimon ben Lakish was like a Bugsy Siegel, Gershom. And the Talmud tells the story that Rabbi Yochanan said to him, "What are you wasting your time with the shtuyot? You become my Talmud, I'll give you my sister who's Miss Universe." You hear? You have a date with my sister. She's a knockout. Right? So he took the deal, and he became the great Baal Tshuva, one of the greatest sages who ever lived, because he fell for a pretty face. The Talmud Yuma 87, Bava Metzia 87 tells that because he was madly in love with Rabbi Yochanan's beautiful sister, and she would only marry him if what? He gave up his life of crime and become a yeshiva bucher. So that's why he became a Baal Tshuva and became one of the greatest sages who ever lived. So he's the one to say that Tshuva Me'ahava, all of your Averos become what? What does Tshuva Me'ahava mean?
From love.
Love whom? But he loved the girl. Reb Shimon ben Lakish, I don't understand you. You are an authority on Tshuva Me'ahava. You admit that you only became the great tzaddik and sage because you loved the girl. So how could you say that Tshuva Me'ahava means because you love God?
Then he got convinced.
What?
He started with the girl, then he got convinced.
Beautiful. Abraham, right? Beautiful. Marshall says that. Make my day. How do you get to Tshuva Me'ahava? You have to practice on your spouse. Oy, oy, oy. When you madly in love with your spouse, you can graduate, David, to madly in love with the one above. Therefore, the Zohar says getting married and making love to your wife is the first mitzvah in the Torah. Because a person cannot be passionately in love with the one above unless he's first passionately in love with what? With his spouse. Ooh-wee, ooh. Therefore, it's the first mitzvah in the Torah. So, Shimon ben Lakish says, take my lead. How was I able to graduate to be madly in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because first I was madly in love with my wife. And then, otherwise, there's no shortcuts, David. You got to find the Bible and be madly in love with her, and then we can graduate to what? To Ahavat Hashem. So therefore, it's a gradual process. Like Abraham said, it's step by step.